Right, good morning. Welcome back to the channel. And today's live match is the first of a three-parter. It's the first day of the Wolves AA August Bank Holiday Festival. And after all, right, you have a look at the peg. Right, I feel a bit lonely to be fair because I'm on M peg. There's the high bridge there, look. I'm on peg 47, which is the high bridge. And the next peg, which is actually 48, is an absolute mile away. A few good anglers up there, look. But I feel like I'm pleasure fishing today. Give a wave, boys. Uh, I've just called the all in. I've just called the all in, so I'm going to give it my best shot. Speak to you later.
Speaking to Fred after the match, the reason there was a big gap between peg 47 and 48 was because the bank's collapsing, so he didn't feel it was safe to put a peg anywhere near where the banks started to erode. I'm not complaining. Everybody knows what I feel about end pegs on the Shropshire. They're massive. It's a massive advantage. So I'm really looking forward to catching some fish today. I feel like I've got a real chance of doing well in my 16 peg zone and hopefully framing off it. We'll see. So my main attack is going to be worms and casters today. I'm putting in squat lines as well. I've fed 2 lines in the same area, up and down the shelf in one area. So 11 metres and 13 metres right against the black tins. They redid all the banks along here on the far bank a few years ago. They put all these black tins in across the other side of the canal, which makes these pegs quite deep over. I mean, I've got over 2 feet of water tight against the wall, which sometimes I feel is a bit too deep for squat fishing. I've got a hemp line I'm fishing to the right slightly where I've got a gap in the cover, and then 16 metres to my left, you'll see in a minute, I feed some chopworm and castor. It's the same depth there as well. Now I don't feel I'll catch many skimmers on this peg because it's too close to the bridge and it is quite narrow compared to the pegs to my right. When the skimmers show, they do show a couple of pegs up where it widens out a little bit. But I'm very happy with my draw. Very, very happy with it. And like I say, I'm going to base my attack around worms with a bit of squat fishing to fill in the gaps. That's the plan anyway. There's me feeding the hemp line. I'm not potting any hemp in, I'm just going to lose feed all day there. And as soon as we get started, look about comes. I've just fed the track as well. Not ideal. And he's not hanging about either. Flying through his.
Hanging about, was he?
So I've put a worm line over, but I've put it miles away from anywhere else I've fed. I didn't need to go that far, but I felt it'd be better out the way on its own. I'm just going to refeed the track line again. Especially after that bout's just gone through. I don't know whether there'll be anything left there. Be dispersed all over the place. You can see all the cloud in the water that he's created from his propeller. and I'm sure that just disperses anything you've put in there that he's gone over. The grain bait I've put on the squat line is Sonia Bates Black Roach with a bit of Black River in it. And I've fed 3 balls down the shelf and 2 balls up the shelf. And then I'm just going to lose feed squats over the top. But I'm starting on the worm down the track. Again, I'm using my favourite track float, which is the Preston Power in an 1/2 gram size. And it's not too long before I have my first fish, little perch. So off to a decent start with a little perch. Mangled the worm up that, so a fresh piece on. Up through the head and out through the side, and then nip it off. I always start with a smallish segment of worm. I don't want to be using too big a piece early doors. You'll notice that the camera angle behind me isn't brilliant because there's a ramp right behind me that goes up to the eye bridge. There was nowhere else I could put the camera, to be fair, that wouldn't be in the way of people coming down from that bridge or going up it even. So my second fish is actually a roach. So I immediately pick up the caster rig thinking, okay, there may be some roach here. We'll catch them on the caster. So on with the caster rig, which is a 4x14 F1 fine. I'm using a size 18 natural N20 on this. Looks quite a big hook, but when you've got a caster on it, you can hardly see it anyway. I don't think it really matters. I'm expecting to catch some roach, and the first bite I have on it is a decent fish. This is a perch, a nice perch. Again, I'm using 6/6 elastic. Everybody knows I like my 6/6 elastic for down the track. Well, for worm fishing on canals in general. Plus, when I've got a chance of perch, I'll always fish 6/6. There we go, it's a nice pound perch to start off. Lovely. Yeah, the reason I use 6/6 is because I want to make sure I penetrate that bony mouth on perch. One more bite on the caster, and it's a little pommy. Throwing some casters over the top. No more bites on the caster, so back onto the worm. And have a bite straight away, which is actually a roach again. Madness. But they won't have the caster. I've had 2 roach on the worm and not a single bite off a roach on the caster. You never know, dear. Another boat again. Just holding on to it in the toe off the boat to see if a perch will nab it. He went through nice. So I'm just going to prepare some more feed to put in that track line after that boat's gone through. And I get a bite while I'm doing it. Another little perch. I say little, these are 2 ounce plus fish, these are. Well worth catching. So I'm going to hold off the feed for a minute or two, see if I can get any more bites before I put any in. Happy days. It's another pommy. So I'm going to try the maggot over the top of it now, see if I can attract any more of those pommies. I do like a red maggot run over the top of them. So we'll give it a look. Bit of rubbish on the line there. That's it, fell off. And I get just the one bite on the maggot. Again, it's another pommy. Beautiful little fish. Not so little, I suppose. When you compare them to the size of the squat fish. Everything's going well at the moment. No more bites on the maggot, so back on the worm. It's worth going through a few baits to see which is best. I don't spend too much time on any particular hook bait if it's not going under. No bites on the worm that time, so refeed it. Go and have a look somewhere else. I'm going to go and have a look against that wall on the worm again. See if there's anything hiding over on the far bank. I'm going to feed it with a little cat pot. So I'm putting a little bit of worm in and half a dozen casters into the pot. And put again, same size segment of worm on, about inch and a half piece of worm. And this float's an F1 shallow in a 4x12. I think them lovely for fishing up the shelves on canal with worms. Just keeping an eye on what's going on up the canal. Steve Brooks, that's a couple of pegs to my right, he's having problems with losing skimmers. Long may it continue is what I say. So I'm just dropping my worm and caster in there, picking the rig back up and dropping it over the top of it. Now I get a few bites on it early does, but they're very small. A bit too small for shipping 16 metres anyway. Well, them 2 ounce a piece I suppose. 8 of them would be another pound. Still worth catching. Lovely. You can see by my rig there, it's quite deep up against that wall. It's a lovely depth for this bait. Plus with it being close to a bridge, no boat's going to get anywhere near over there. If they did, they'd be crashing into the bridge. There's a little tiny one. Might be time to leave that line alone a bit. That little stint over there on the worms put 8, 9, 10 ounce in my net. So it's definitely worth doing. Back down the track now on the worm. All the time I'm fishing the worm, I'm leaving my squat line alone, hopefully building it, getting more and more roach into the peg. Another half decent fish here. Another perch, this one. Lovely. It's got to be 8 ounce he has. If not a little bit more. I've been catching so many perch on the canals just lately. And it's no coincidence that I've been using a lot more worm than I would normally use. I've been fishing canals for years and years, and it surprises me, even myself, watching the videos back, at how much bait I actually feed. So one of the Norbury day hire boats coming back. Just moving me carry-all for my pole to ship over. I don't know why I didn't do this in the first place, because I've been putting it down on the towpath and it's not good for the sections. So I should have put that there in the first place. Just making sure I haven't damaged anything there. Another couple of ounce fish. Great fishing at the minute. Another boat coming, look. So I'm going to run the maggot over the top of my ground bait now, see if I can catch any better fish before I go on the pinky. So I'm going over to the 11 metre line first. So other than a couple of tiny little dinks of little fish, I don't catch a fish on the maggot. So we get a procession of boats. So the next rig I pick up is a 0.3 pinky rig, squat and pinky rig. It's got a size 22 N10 on it, so I can go between squat and pinky. I'm starting on a fluoro pinky. I'm not going to feed the track again until it's settled down a bit, but I will definitely feed it again soon. The squat line today is hopefully just going to be filling in the gaps in between catching worm and caster fish. That was a decent stamp fish to start with on the pinky, so if I stay at this stamp, I'll plan to stay on it a lot longer. We'll see how it goes. That one's fell off. Drop it back in. I'm using slip 3 on this rig because it's a little bit deeper. Now they've got the kid driving the boat here, and there's a boat coming through the bridge from the other way, and I don't know what to do. And I hear her say, put it in reverse to her son, and I'm thinking, please don't do it in front of me. But luckily he doesn't listen, and he goes past a bit before he does slow it down. But then the boat on the other side actually calls it through. So luckily for me, it didn't cause too much disturbance. Bit of a bemused look on my face there. Top up that 11 metre line after this bout's come through. And there's another bout immediately after it. I managed to get a bite just before he gets there. He's got a fish, he said. Now it's time to get that ball of ground baited. Just washing out the residue of the worms out of the pot. And got straight back on it. Hooked myself a leaf on the way out. And I've done it again. Nice stamp fish these are. There's another boat coming. Now it's settled down a bit, it's time to get some more worms into the canal.
I'm on it now.
Just checking everything's lined up so I'm in the right spot. And get back on the pinky. This time I'm going up the shelf to see if there's any fish hanging about up against the tins. 4x10 rig this one. Topping up the hemp. Now, although I get bites over against the wall, the fish are a lot smaller. Give it another chance. See if this damp improves as we're fishing it. That one's slightly better. It's dead awkward, the bank behind me there. Because I've got my pole stuck in the sock. I can't push it back enough to get it out. I've had to cut the rig right down there to get room underneath that vegetation. See, look, I've just caught in the vegetation as I'm striking. Too long a rig, I'm going to end up losing lots of rigs in that. So I've cut the rig right down so as it's quite short above the float. I do actually trim it down a bit more than that later on. And go back down the shelf, see what's happened after I've put that ground bait in. Again, the stamp's better down the shelf. I can see a boat coming in the distance, so I'm going to get down that track quick before he gets here. See if I can catch me a perch before the boat comes. Just jigging the rig about there, see if I can entice a bite. Like I say, the camera angle's not brilliant on this one for when I'm fishing down the track. Never worked that time. So we'll get back on the pinky. Well, now there's a few fish over there. Quickly, go under. No. He was just complaining to me about an angler, moaning at him. So after a clonking gudgeon. You don't catch so many gudgeon nowadays. On all the canals I visit, Staff's Worcester especially, you don't catch hardly any now. It used to be full of them. But you still catch some around Norbury, Soudley on the Shropshire, some, areas on the Shropshire. Norbury and Soudley about full of them. Well, that will say full of them. You don't catch that many, but there is times when you'll catch loads of them. There is areas where you'll catch loads of them. But they're definitely on a decline just lately. Like I say, especially the Staff's Worcester. You hardly catch any out there now. Still a decent stand down that shelf. Stick with it for a bit. Dropping a single fluoride pinky on the hook. I mess about with how I hook them as well while I'm fishing them. A lot of the time I hook them upside down, so through the thin end. Probably more so than I do through the thicker end. Just making sure I use the full length of the swim there, so I'm running it down the peg. Because there is a bit of tow on it, and squats when they hit the water, they won't go down, especially when there's a tow like this. They won't go down straight, they'll go down at an angle with the flow. So sometimes the better fish come hanging down the peg. It's always worth exploring it. There is times when I've caught fish above where the feed's gone in. I'm feeding the track again. Now it's quieting down again. With lots of boat traffic, I do feel it's important to keep putting feed in there. And I'll top up my far line as well, my 16 metre line. Because there hasn't had any feed for a bit. I have tried loose feeding casters over there, but it's not really going in very well.
What? You say?
Back on the pinky. Had an indication straight away there. And into a fish. Still a decent stamp. Half decent anyway. I up and getting smaller. Little roach. Quick look before a boat comes again down the track. No joy. So we'll go and have a look at 16 metres again. See if any of them better fish have been pushed up the shelves. Not going to put anything in the pot this time because I've just fed it. And drop it in right against those tins. There we go. With a couple of ounce perch. This time I'm going to give it a little bit of feed. Notice there's only a tiny bit of worm there. Half a dozen casters. Keep that track line fed with some casters. Be careful not to spill any out the pot when I'm putting the pole together. Chopping up some more worms there. I'm getting a few. Multitasking, look. That's a better fish. This is what I'm after. Half decent perch, this. Get in there. Over 6 8 ounce, maybe more.
Change your mind. Change your mind. Oh no.
Keeping the squats going in. Jigging the rig there to try and entice a bite, look. And it worked. Not a massive fish, but by making that worm move has enticed a bite. Again, another couple of ounces. All adds up. Give it a bit of a top up. A little bit more in this time, look. Much saying that, most of that is probably dirt. Oh, tiny little fish, that one. Always give it a firm strike on the worm, just in case. Want to make sure I penetrate them mouths, as I've said before. Using a size 16 N30 down the track and tight over. Another quick look down the track before the boat turns up. Now joy again. I still won't discount it. We'll have another little stint on the squat for a bit. Added a bit more base mix to me pot. That's already got some in with some squats in. I'm going to give both lines a top up this time. I haven't topped up that 13-metre line since we started. We'll go and have a quick look, see if there's anything on the end line. So that's a 4x10 Chianti, that is. And I'm using a size 20 natural N40 hook on that. And I'm slotting a piece of hemp on it to the click. I'll have a quick run over it and see if there's anything there. I won't spend much time on it. If it doesn't go under pretty quick, I shall get back off it. You know when it's right with the hemp. No bites, get off it. So I'll back over to the wall where I've just added some more ground bait and see what happens. Yeah, little tiny fish. You see by my face I'm not that happy. So we'll go back down the shelf, see if they're any better down there. And that line's been invaded by little fish as well. Where's the big ones gone? Back on the worm. Another boat comes. Just trying to mag it before this boat turns up. See if I can catch anything over on the maggot. Don't get a bite. So we'll go back on the worm. A little bit in the pot again. You don't need to give them much. Just a taster.
Gearing up.
No bites that time. Won't give up on it though. I'll go back on the squat and pinky for a bit. Just to keep some fish going in the net. And yet another bout. Quick, go under before this bout gets there. No. And still the fish are quite small. Back up the shelf. Few there though. Slightly improved on the stamp again. Leave it at. Notice that I've bulked all the shot down on that rig as well. It was strung out to start with. But to try and get through those little fish, I've bulked all the shot just above my hook length. I use a 4-inch hook length on all my canal rigs. And I've bulked all the shot right on top of the hook length to try and get it through the little fish and get down to the bottom. That one's slightly better. But a majority of them now are quite small. The chap next to me has just lost an eel down the track, so I'm going to go and have a look, see if I can find me one. Refeed the track again.
Feed it again.
Going to give me 13 metre line a quick top up as well. Just a one hand squeeze ball. And I pick up my eel rig. It's got a 1 gram Nautilus float on this one. It's got 17 Duraslip elastic. It's got an 0.19 hook length with a size 12 natural N50 hook on. No nonsense rig this is. Specifically for eels. And I've put a big segment of worm on. So I've put a full Dandrobina on and I've just nipped the end off it. I'm going to hold on to that. Hold on to it quite tight so as it sits quite still and see what happens. And it goes under, and I felt that this was like an eel bite, but it wasn't. It was a perch again. Half decent stamp. No damage to the worm, back in again.
I thought that were an eel bite then. Wait, I hope.
Another bite. No joys with eels, but I'm still catching perch. I'm not complaining. I'll slip the net under this one. Lovely. See how big a piece of worm that is, look. Yeah, the Nautilus float, you can hold on to it. It's got an offset body. So as when it's got a toe on it, it'll still sit upright. And you can hold on to it. Stop it from moving.
What was that?
Picking a few more worms out for chopping. And straight back over the top of it. No joy that time. So we'll get back over on the Pinky again. Canal's getting busy again. That one's a bit better. Time for another top up. And some more worms. And going back down the track with a big rig. And we get a bite. Another perch. Love catching perch. They're halfway. With a big worm on. Nip the end off it. Lovely. Couple of bites off that line, then back over to the tins. Just putting a few casters in this time. Have a little jig. That's straight down the hole. Another 2 ounce or more. Definitely worth catching. That's a bit better again. Look at that, beautiful. Another 8 ounce or more, that is. Back onto the squat for a bit. Filling in the gaps again. Try down the shelf. So I've run out of worms. That was a new bag on the Wednesday before that was. And I don't feel I used that many worms on that match. So I feel like I've got through nearly half a kilo of worms today. Trying to multitask again here, look. Not doing it very well. I don't want to chop up too many worms now because we're nearly finished. Not long of the match left. But I definitely need to put a few more in. I'm not getting many bites down the track now. So we'll go back over to that far line. See if we can catch any more over there. Was 4 ounce perch. Well, thereabouts, I would say. Started to have a little run of better fish over there. Nice end to the match. This is more like it. That's actually a roach, that one. And that's it, we're finished. Cracking day sport. I got lumbered with the scales and I've weighed the section in. Martin Owen here, he's winning the section up to me. He's at £7.13, something like that. I didn't think I got that. Simon and Nicholas, he's walking up as well. He's at £7 odd. And I thought, have I beat him? I lifted him out and I knew I'd got a few fish. Lots of perch in my net today. And the weigh. I'm very happy with how I fished, to be fair. Feel as if I've had a good match. I've kept all lines going, pretty much. Never had a fish on the emp. To be fair, I never tried it again after that initial look. Talking to people back at headquarters after, there were a few emp fish caught later on. Maybe I'd have caught some if I'd have persisted and had another go on it. But I was really happy with what I was doing. So I carried on. And I've weighed £9, 6 ounces. Absolutely fantastic. I've won the zone. And I actually framed in the match. I came second in the match, which I was really happy with. So I've got off to a great start. With it being 16 peg zones, the draw's massive in this festival. And keep your eyes open for days 2 and 3, which are to come soon. Reading some of the feedback off my videos. Some people have said they'd like to see the full results, so there you go. If you'd like to look at them, just give it a pause to have a view and then carry on. If you enjoyed watching that, give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more like this, please subscribe. Cheers.